In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. In this episode, we shall talk about the plague. The plague is considered by the Ahmadis to be the most important proof of the truthfulness of the group's founder. This subject shall expose the monumental falsification involved in the founder's proclamations, especially with regard to references to previous texts which have no relation to the subject at hand. It is claimed that the texts talk about the subject, but they do not. The exposé also contains the founder's strategy of prophesizing something and also its opposite at the same time. There are other matters too. Let's begin with how the Ahmadis narrate the miracle of the plague. They say, initially the plague bore no impact in India at all. Then the founder prophesied that this plague shall sweep across the region and kill its people, but the Ahmadis shall be under special protection. They shall not take the plague vaccine, meaning they shall not consume it. And despite that, they shall all remain safe, but others will take the vaccine, and despite that, they shall perish. And other things too, which are totally incorrect. I mention this with utmost brevity. This means that there had been no proof of dispelling the illusions except this one. It would have sufficed due to the abundance of falsities therein. The plague broke out in Mumbai in the year 1896 and many people died. The plague then migrated to Punjab, most probably in the beginning of 1897. The founder stated his plague prophecy in 1898, on February 6th. There are texts from before this date which have no relation at all to the subject, which we shall see him claiming upon several years after the plague struck, that is in 1902. He began to refer to them, and when happy realization struck, he said, "See, I had prophesied about this in year so-and-so," and things like that. This is an extremely brief explanation. Start by reading a part of the Ilan al-Ta'un, the Plague Declaration. This declaration was made on February 6th, as I said before. The founder says in this declaration, "This disease which has seized the city of Mumbai and other cities and villages, and which continues to spread relentlessly, does not need a detailed introduction. Thousands of children have been orphaned during the course of 2 years." This means that he said this in the beginning of 1898 and pointed out that it had killed people and had been killing them for the past 2 years in Mumbai and other cities and villages. It has ruined thousands of homes and separated friends and acquaintances from each other, till the end. Then he says, "Indeed, it has pervaded Mumbai and undoubtedly Punjab is endangered." Punjab means the region where the Qadianis were settled. He says, "Undoubtedly it is endangered." After talking about quarantine procedures, he says, "This disease is like itchiness." He proposed a few cures and things like that. He suggested some procedures himself and said that the government is also trying to fight the disease. Saying this, he thanked the government. This means this statement is a very long declaration. Then he said, "There is another matter, a very important matter. I find myself desirous to mention it here for the sake of being compassionate to mankind. I also know very well that those who are deprived of spirituality shall laugh at me and mock me due to it, but I feel that revealing it is obligatory for the sake of having compassion upon man. This matter is, I saw in my dream on Sunday, February 6, 1898, that the angels of Allah are planting black, daunting, ugly short trees in various regions of Punjab. I asked one of the angels, 'What are these trees?' They said, 'These are the trees of the plague, which shall pervade this land soon.' However, it is not clear to me whether the timing of the plague, according to what they said, will be in this winter or the following one. The plague is pervading throughout the world, and you are saying Punjab is in extreme danger, and you still don't know that it shall soon become widespread, meaning to say the angels did not tell you that it shall reach you this winter or the next. So where is the prophecy? The matter continues to become evident through this ilham, divine inspiration. After mentioning the ilham, he went on to say, the matter continues to become evident through this ilham that I have just mentioned on record that the fate hangs. They talk about, in the context of the founder's prophecies in the community, they talk about hanging fate and sealed fate. Hanging fate is bound to happen. As for the sealed fate, they say that it may come to pass. So he says this may come to pass. It is possible to divert it through repentance, seeking of forgiveness from Allah, good deeds, discarding of disobedience, giving charity and donation, and achieving good change till the end. In short, there is no prophecy. He is talking about a fact. He is saying that it seems that the plague shall strike next year or during the following winter, and that it may come to pass through seeking forgiveness from Allah. This means this is not a prophecy, and any person would anticipate and mention this. He saw a dream. End of story. Then, after some time, he began to search for previous prophecies. A prophecy or a text. Not prophecies, rather, texts in Al-Barahin and other texts. So, for example, there is a text in Al-Barahin which says, diseases of people and its blessings. Then there is, not from Al-Barahin, but he says, O Messiah of this world, our oppression, meaning, help us rid of being a... He attributed this to Al-Barahin, but it is not to be found. There is also a verse. He said, when annihilative immorality flowed relentlessly, I wished that the destructive plague would take over. He recalled this ilham in 1902, the verse, and said, verily I had prayed to Allah for a destructive plague. Okay, why didn't you mention this before in 1902? Why didn't you say this in 1898 when you had prophesied, assuming that it indeed was a prophecy, when you had prophesied about the plague? This proves that he did not think of it when he wrote this verse, not the plague nor anything else. Another proof was that he wrote it in the book Al-Qurba al-Himayya. This verse, I wish that the destructive plague would take over, is not related in any way with the plague. Instead, as I said, now it is necessary to search other texts too. Proofs. I shall present proofs that the plague had already pervaded those areas before, on 6th of February 1898. All of this is from the books of the founder. I have not referred to other sources. In his annual speech on December 25th, 1897, the founder said, the plague is a severe punishment, for it has taken the state by storm. If it gains strong traction, it shall sweep the whole country. This was in late 1897. Then he said on April 24th, 1903, indicating the past 7 years as he is talking about 1896, and because he is talking in 1903, so subtracting 7, we get 1896. So he says, 2 years prior to the prophecy, that the plague has not ended yet. Allah knows best till when it shall persist and when it shall reap. We see that since the past 7 years, it has only increased day by day and does not seem to stop. Every year we hear that it is aggravated even more. So, the plague began in 1896. On January 21st, 1898, meaning 2 weeks before the prophecy of angels planting black trees, he said in the Malfudat, not in the declaration, if the plague spreads to a place where some of you live, then I advise you to be at the forefront of those who shall adhere to the laws of the state. Then he says, this plague has turned towards the direction of Punjab. He says that the plague is now approaching Punjab. What remains of the prophecy? It is a fact that the plague is approaching. He also said, the world is in grave danger. All of this, and you still say it is a prophecy? Then he says, in the Hakika al-Wahi in 1907, but talking about the past, indeed, Almighty Allah informed me about the spreading of the plague in the whole of Punjab at a time when there was no sign, except one, of the plague in the region. Meaning this is an apparent indication that the plague was present in Punjab, even if in just one location, assuming that it was indeed in just one location. Let it be one location then. Let us consider it to be true. A plague, when it breaks out in any one location in a particular area, consumes the whole region. After all, this is something which is expected of the plague. Let us return to the matter of the destructive plague. how the founder prayed in favor of the destructive plague. The year is 1894, and the book Hamama al-Bushra is published in the beginning of the year, meaning before al-Kusuf wal-Kusuf. That is in the initial period of his call, 3 years after he declared that he was the Messiah, and that the Messiah, that is Isa, peace be upon him, had expired. 3 years later, what does he say in a verse of poetry? I wish that the destructive plague would take over, means that he wished for the destruction of people. Then he said, on January the 16th, 1897, in the book Akiba Athim, meaning a few months before, 1 year and 1 month before the plague prophecy, it would have been good, in our opinion, to publish an announcement describing the death of thousands who fell victim to the plague in Mumbai in these days as a result of the Mubahala. This is because Munshi Zain al-Din Muhammad Ibrahim, who belongs to my community and believes firmly in me, resides in Mumbai. It would be appropriate that this city be subjected to the effect of the Mubahala and not any other. Meaning Mumbai, a great city which is filled with residents, should be subjected to the plague so that it may victimize the population just because a single Ahmadi lives there. Just because the one person who pledged allegiance to the founder lives there? Is this love for all and hatred for none? Is this a mercy for the worlds? Is this the meaning of, and we have not sent you except as a mercy to the worlds? Al-Quran 21:107. You wish for the destructive plague to strike all these people just because one single person who belongs to your group lives in that region? Okay, now let us read a contradictory text. Because, as I said, he says things and then contradicts them in another place. He prophesies something, and then prophesies its opposite too. He speaks about a thought, and also its opposite. Let's read this text. Remember, Mumbai was destroyed because some munshi of his lived there. The truth is my oath, and the truth I say. Al-Quran 38:84. That when a city is inhabited by 1 million people, and in their midst resides one good man, one whole good man, then the calamity is warded off from that city. While you see that this calamity has eroded and destroyed the city completely, then know that none has remained among them but one whole good man. Okay, brother, you are the one whole good man in Punjab. When did the plague come at all? Even Mumbai has a good man, this Ahmadi. Why did it come to Mumbai? Today, Ahmadis are spread across the world. All of them are wholly good people. Why then do calamities befall the world? Thus the writing and its opposite exist together. Let us come back to the destructive plague. The plague is destructive, as the founder said. So he begins in 1902 by mentioning this verse of poetry. He never brought it forth as evidence before this time. It wasn't known to him. Suddenly, he began to refer to it in the book Nusul al-Masih. He says, when the plague hadn't yet impacted Mumbai, I prayed that it should, and the prayer was answered. So he prayed for the plague to strike. O people of Mumbai, whose forefathers were killed in the plague, this was a result of the founder's prayers. It has been mentioned in the Hamaha al-Bushra in the beginning of 1894, that when annihilative immorality flowed relentlessly, I wished that the destructive plague would take over. Now he explains this verse, and look how he explains it. When immorality aggravated, I prayed to Allah that may the plague strike. How did it aggravate? This means that immorality started aggravating only from 1891 onwards, when you declared that you were the Messiah. Till 1894, the people are the same, the thoughts and views are the same, the character is the same, the practice is the same, everything is as it is. Where is the aggravation that you talk about? Where has immorality aggravated? You prayed. Then why did you pray for the plague to strike? Instead of praying to Allah that He may guide mankind and turn them towards the right path and towards good values and morals, and that may they be merciful to each other. Instead, you pray for the plague to strike and victimize Mumbai and other places. Is this reasonable? Then, and let me affirm that he did not mention this verse ever in 1898, when he supposedly prophesied about the plague. Okay, the plague came in 1898, and not only did he not remember this verse, destructive plague, but he remembered that he had prayed for the plague to pass, and that his heart was pained. He says, this plague in itself is an extremely severe punishment. The law that concerned it is tough, and it is a second punishment. The disease is constantly on the rise. whoever be the patient, women or children, the law requires them to be quarantined and their homes to be vacated. My heart was pained while contemplating on this disease and the law. Therefore, I prayed about it in the night prayer. Thereupon I received divine revelation. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Al-Quran 13:11. And now I think this ilham is connected to the following ilham. O thunderbolt, do not fall from the sky. This means that he now wishes the plague would not befall them. He now prays to Allah that may the plague not strike. Okay, brother, you wished before in 1894 that the plague may strike, and now why do you wish for it to pass? You should praise Allah that he answered your prayers. This is contrary to the tradition of prophets, according to what the second caliph has said in the interpretation of Surah Hud, wherein he says, a prophet, regardless of receiving news of the punishment which is to befall his people, continues to intercede on their behalf before Allah, considering his mercy vast so that he may not let the punishment descend. But he says after that, if the punishment descends nonetheless, then he should not pray. End of quote. The founder acted quite the opposite. Initially, in 1894, he prayed for the destructive plague to strike, and when the plague did strike, he began to pray for it to pass. This is contrary of the traditions of Nuh and other prophets foregone. Well, is the second prophecy for another plague to strike other than the destructive plague, meaning one which would strike before 1898? Yes. With regard to the founder, yes. He says, I had prophesied on the 59th page of the book Al-Siraj al-Munir that the plague would strike. The book also mentions that those who did not accept the prophecy of Lakram shall be afflicted with the plague. Like Almighty Allah says, indeed, those who took the calf will obtain anger from their Lord and humiliation in the life of this world. Al-Quran 7:152. The meaning of anger descending in this world is the plague. On page 60 of the same book, it has been narrated, this due to the disease, due to rain, the pages don't open. An ilham has been recorded pertaining to the plague, which is as follows. O Messiah of this world, our oppression, meaning that the people will say when the plague becomes intense, O Messiah, intercede for us. This book has been in publication since 5 years from today, that is July 18th, 1902, and there was no sign of the plague spreading at that time. There was no visible sign of the plague spreading. The plague had consumed the world. We mentioned texts regarding this earlier. Why? Why should these words be said? See now, how is the condition of these many great tidings of things unknown which are being circulated continuously for 22 years? I have continuously been informed that the plague is about to strike the region, meaning he says that he has been informed that the plague was to spread. We shall soon see. Let us see those texts and the contradictions present therein. He says in the book Ayam al-Sul in 1898, this ilham is present in Al-Barahin too, diseases of people and its blessings, and another ilham, O Messiah of this world, our oppression, meaning, O Messiah who has been sent for the good of this world, help us to ward off this plague. O people, Messiah of this world, our oppression, is not present in Al-Barahin. This is incorrect. The founder says in the book of 1898 that it is present in Al-Barahin, but unfortunately it is not present at all. This is present in Al-Siraj al-Munir. In Ayam al-Sul means the first time that the founder has talked about this is in 1897 or 1898. As far as I'm concerned, he mentioned it in 1898 and not in 1897. The story of Al-Siraj al-Munir is a matter in which I do not wish to indulge right now. What does he say in Ayam al-Sul? 2 lines before, O Messiah of this world, our oppression. He says, Allah has said this concerning me only. Allah would not punish them while you are among them. Al-Quran 8:33, meaning, Allah would not send down punishment upon this people and this government whose subject you are. Meaning the plague would never strike as long as he remains among them. This is merely 2 lines before the text of, O Messiah of this world, our oppression. The text is clear. Allah would not punish them while you are among them. And its interpretation, Allah would not send down punishment upon this people and this government whose subject you are. So how did the plague strike? It is amply clear that the plague existed before the prophecy was made, and the texts which he talks about relating to the plague have no relation with the plague. It is also clear that he indicates towards texts which do not exist at all, like, O Messiah of this world, our oppression. It is clear that he prophesies about a matter and its opposite too. It is clear that he talks about a thought and its opposite too. So that whenever something happens, and things are bound to happen since things and prophecies contain all possibilities, they fill the whole world with, see how the prophecies have proven to be true? May Allah's blessings, peace and mercy be upon you.